Good afternoon. You know me as Larry Klayman. I'm the chairman and general counsel of Freedom Watch. I previously founded and ran Judicial Watch. Today I run Freedom Watch and americassheriff.org. Freedom. Shining a light on freedom. That light is being extinguished, not just by a madman by the name of Vladimir Putin, someone who is recreating for himself what Hitler tried to do in the years leading up to World War II and ultimately was defeated. But in addition to a madman, we have someone who's simply brain dead running this country. We have to call a spade a spade. We have to call it for what it is. Joe Biden is incapable of leading this country either domestically or internationally. Today, after promising severe sanctions for weeks and weeks, what does he do? The brain-dead coward Joe Biden? A few minor sanctions, a few banks, a few oligarchs. Sits there, can't even give a speech. He was standing, not sitting. Stuttering, mumbling, unable to communicate. This is very serious in Europe. The American people don't know it yet. Putin is trying to recreate the equivalent of Hitler's Third Reich by grabbing these countries. Ukraine was the breadbasket and is the breadbasket of Europe. It's extremely prosperous, more prosperous than Russia. All Russia has is oil. Ukraine has a lot. I happen to be a third-generation Ukrainian, a Jewish Ukrainian, just like the president of Ukraine. I'm also Polish. I'm also Lithuanian from my family. All of these countries are under attack. Make no mistake about it, Ukraine's just the first step. To take Poland, to take Lithuania, to take Estonia, to take Latvia, to take Belarus. So this is what it's about. And if you think that we can sit here in this country, as we did prior to World War II, and think, oh, it's not going to touch our country. You didn't have intercontinental ballistic missiles in World War II in the days and months and years leading up to it. You didn't have nuclear weapons. And even then, ultimately, the United States had to enter the war, and we had to win. Today, as Vladimir Putin has said, he's got nuclear weapons. He's prepared to use them. He threatened the United States. And when I was listening to Biden's speech today, he made it look like it was all about Europe, not about the United States. Well, if you care about your kids and grandkids and future generations, you know that we can be obliterated in a matter of minutes. Vladimir Putin and Russia have hypersonic missiles. They are more technologically advanced than anything that we have today. So too does communist China. Because of the Obama years in particular, our military was degraded, and it was disgraced, dishonored, and in fact demoralized with regard to what happened in Afghanistan. And how do you think our military and our brave heroes feel when they look at this guy, Biden, who can't even speak hardly, who can barely walk, who's frankly stupid, had to plagiarize other people's works when he ran for president before and otherwise. When he has a son who laundered money into his accounts, millions and millions of dollars, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden. He's been bribed by communist China. He was bribed by Russia. He was bribed by Ukraine when it was under another government. We, the American people, are in serious jeopardy if he is our president. It is time for Democrats and Republicans, and I think basically we need to get rid of both of them, both parties. One is pure evil, the Democrats, the other is a money laundering operation. But it's time for at least the president, until we form a new government, as we're debating and going to do under our Third Continental Congress. It's time for them to go to the White House and tell Biden, your time is up. We cannot afford it. There's a risk. We need an interim government to face the perils that are facing us today with Putin and Russia and China and Iran and the rest, all of whom are working together. That's my message. These so-called sanctions were worse than a joke. It was pathetic. The United States is weak. Listen to the speech of Boris Johnson in Great Britain. prime minister who sounded a lot like Churchill, but he doesn't have the power to do what the American people and our country can do with regard to arresting Russia. And ask yourself this question: why? All these years did we not give the Ukrainians the means to defend themselves? They have no air force. They have no real sophisticated military equipment. These are Christians and Jews. They're just like us, particularly me. Now, my family left the Ukraine because of anti-Semitism. But you know what? Today, they have a Jewish president. I don't think you'll ever see one in this country. Probably not. So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a situation that can widen into a world war. We're dealing with a situation where Putin has threatened us that if we step in, he's going to nuke us and our European allies. He's a madman. And what do we get from President Biden, to use the term president loosely? Oh, I'll sanction a few more banks, and I'll sanction some oligarchs, and I'll take a look at it later, no problem. He didn't even show up to his press conference on time, because he can't show up on time, because the guy's half in the grave right now. They have to jack him up on some kind of steroid or something just to have him speak for a few minutes. We cannot afford to have this guy in office, and therefore we need to peacefully and legally have him removed now. And the current government needs to do it. Maybe they need to use the 25th Amendment or whatever they can do. But even his own party doesn't support him anymore because he's dragged them down the drain, as evil as they are. We need to act, we the American people. I want you to read my book, It Takes a Revolution. Forget the Scandal Industry. That was the first one last year, and also my new one, which just came out. It takes a counter-revolution. Wake up, America. It's time for America to wake up. It's time for you, if you're retired, to get up off the couch for your kids' and grandkids' sake. It's time for you, if you're young or middle-aged, to do something. One avenue is to join Freedom Watch at freedomwatchusa.org with our citizens' grand juries and citizens' trials to hold these criminal politicians and judges accountable to the rule of law who have so destroyed this country. And I want you to participate in our Third Continental Congress, because it says in our Declaration of Independence, when in the course of human events, the sovereign no longer represents the people, we have a right under the laws of nature and nature's God to alter or abolish that government and to form a new government by and for the people, with equal rights for everyone in pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. We need a new government. The old one has gotten us to the brink of a world war. I'll be back tomorrow with another YouTube video. Until then, give it some thought. Get up off the couch, do something. This guy Biden is leading us to a potential ultimate end, not just of Ukraine, not just of Europe, but of this country. He must be removed as soon as possible.